Hello friend. Today I'm going to be documenting a recent project, converting and painting some German mountain infantry. Now these guys don't have the best rules or great flexibility and options. The main things they have going is their default veteran status. Maybe in carefully constructed narrative game the skis might come in handy for movement. Curious if the newer Case Blue supplement expands their roles. I do have some of the metal models sold by Warlord. I find the metal can be annoying to work with, difficult to transport. Would be nice of them to get a plastic treatment like the Alpini, but that seems to be a special circumstance primarily by having most of the same parts sprue as the rest of the Italian set. This is a project that's been sitting on my desk for about 2 years now, and I'm surprised that I actually completed it. At its core, it's very simple. The bodies are Africa core. Chose these as they are as close as we can get to looking like the unit in the current range of plastics. The jacket comes out a bit puffier and the pants go into the ankle boots. Next, the backpacks from the Allied Commando set. These are a little too big, but yet again as close as we can get in the current range of plastics. Tested the US infantry packs. They just don't work the same. In a pinch, I suppose you could make it work. On the cheap, can always make them without the packs, just basic soldier bread bag and kit, as they ended up fighting as line infantry as the war progressed. To really bring it home, we need their field caps. Really iconic, dripping with style. I decided on a mix of field caps and steel helms for a more combat in the mountains look. The heads are taken from most of the armies of Germany kit. For extra style, the paratrooper kits also fit well with the Africa Corps bodies. They provide a much puffier jacket look, so you can paint them in a khaki or white to simulate their windbreakers. My muse from this is a fellow whose art I see a lot of. It's really well done, which makes this project based off the invasion of Yugoslavia. If you're going to do this project, really sit down and think what environment they'll be fighting in. Will they be trolling the Alps, fighting in the Caucasus, defending the Siegfried Line? There are no shortages of pictures online to take inspiration from. An interlude between conversion and painting, let's talk about model prep. You don't have to be the greatest painter in the world, but I would encourage people to clean the mold lines. The back of a hobby knife followed by some Gundam sanding sticks or automotive sandpaper to buff it out. Sometimes this can take longer than the paint job itself, but I find it to be worth it at the end of the day. I find cleaning the models with some rubbing alcohol and a clean toothbrush helps get the oil and dust off for a clean prime coat. Now it's time to begin the great task of painting. Most of the time for this period, I'll use a gray or a brown primer. I find the gray goes better with the green-gray or greenish uniforms for the Germans or the mid-green of a Marine uniform. Brown works well with a khaki of British or Soviet. Since this project can go either way, I decided on brown. It can also help make leather bits easier as gray works better with black and brown works better with the red orangey leather. I find Pro Acryl to have some nice primers, and this will be Pro Acryl Black Brown. I find the priming easier with an airbrush, 2 or 3 gentle passes, waiting a bit in between for each. Gets a nice finish. You could try using a brush. It tends to have an airbrush viscosity to it, so it can make the layer thinner than desired. And since I keep my basing very simple, adding it before painting, the airbrush can cause a dark circle below the model. As a finishing touch, we dry brush a lighter brown colors around the edge to give it a nice shadowy effect. And we can achieve similar effects by going pretty heavy on a dark brown wash as well. We can get the uniform sorted out and make this come to life. Should have a key in the video with a description of the paint variant and brand. Jacket and field cap, German camo dark green. Pack, medium German camo brown. Pants, charcoal. Boots, grenade handle, gun stock, German camo black brown. Steel helm, grenade top, dark black green SS. Pack straps, belt, belt buckle, metal of gun, black. So far, so good. If painting really isn't your thing, you could call it a day for a tabletop ready standard. However, we must go deeper. Time for layers. The main colors of the model. Place these over the base, drawing into details while leaving the base in the deepest areas. Jacket and field cap, German field gray, World War II. Pack, German camo pale brown. Pants, basalt gray. Boots, grenade handle, gun stock, Gorgon brown. Steel helm, grenade top, German camo extra dark green. Pack straps, belt, dark gray. Belt buckle, metal of gun, dark gunmetal. Now for the helm, we're working with a curved area, which are a little bit tricky. I'd recommend dry brushing for this one. Dry brushing can also come in handy for the metal section, especially for the gun. Usually I keep it a bit heavy around the areas I'll find wear, like the trigger guard or the handle. This time I just completely layered it on, and I used a dark gray wash from Vallejo to see if it looked any different. Usually I'll pick up one new thing, try something out. I wasn't particularly blown away by this wash. Now if you decide to do any washing or black lining, be careful with the Vallejo metallics. They have this habit of particles breaking off even when dry, giving this weird rainbow glitter color that can transfer to other areas. I never had this problem with any other metallics brand, but I found it is most persistent through their model, mecha, and game color lines. Yet again, looking good. If that's good enough, this can be your hopping off point, but we still have deeper yet to go. Jacket and field cap, green-gray. Pack, khaki. Pants, backstraps, belt, harness, medium sea gray. Boot, grenade handle, gunstock, orange-brown. Steel helm, grenade top, 50-50 mix of German extra green and German field gray with a light dry brush. Belt buckle and the middle of the gun, silver. Now normally I just finish up the basing here and then do a varnish. This time I used the Vallejo polyurethane ultra matte via the airbrush. I usually try to use one or two new things every project, and a new varnish could potentially mess up this project. In this case it was very similar to the Camo ultra matte I use. It only took twice as long to dry. But before that last bit, I took the time to spice up the models with a little bit of detail. I'll pick out the eagle on the field cap and the lining on the shoulder strap with a base of medium sea gray, then a highlight of white gray. I next move on to the distinct badging for the unit, the mountain flower patch on the right side of the arm and the left side of the field cap. For the arm badge, a base of any black-green color, I use the dark green SS, paint in a decent sized circle. For the mountain flower, we'll use white-gray, paint an X, and immediately a slightly smaller cross. Repeat this again for the field cap. There was no way I was going to Michelangelo this. I find the simple design works well at this scale. Flesh is not really my favorite thing to paint, so I elected to paint the gloves over the hands following the same method I used for the helm. I used the same method on the pants for the goggles as well. For flesh, there's a very easy method most people use. It's the Citadel, Bugman, Cadian, Kislev mix. It works really well as they are really good paints for Caucasian flesh. When it comes to other brands, it gets a bit trickier. Vallejo tends to dry much lighter than the color in the bottle, and finding the right tones are a bit difficult. This time I tried, as a base, Anthea skin, layer medium flesh tone. This is a tad more orange than I would like it to be. I find Vallejo works best when they're mixed or washed out a bit. A highlight basic skin tone. Went with what I find to be the simplest way to do eyes. A small brown slit in the eye socket, then take a little white and apply it to the sides. We can always use the brown to reposition the pupil. I tend to make the figures always looking slightly to the side as I feel it looks better. I find this method easier to use than a micron pen, as most models at this scale have squinty eyes and are very hard to dot. And going the extra mile, I find this project to be acceptable. Next I should be finishing some Blood Raven Firstborn Scouts.